The Galactic Council Station hung in the darkness of space like a giant crystal flower. Its transparent walls reflected the light of distant stars, creating patterns that danced across its surface. Inside, the station was cold and quiet, too quiet for a place that was supposed to bring peace. Ambassador Jiwoo walked through the long corridor with steady steps. Her dark suit was simple and professional. Her hair was pulled back in a neat style. She carried a small data pad in one hand. Behind her, keeping a respectful distance, walked Corporal Taemin. Taemin was tall and lean. His face showed no emotion. His eyes moved constantly, watching everything, missing nothing. He wore a plain gray uniform, with no weapons visible. His hands stayed relaxed at his sides. He had not spoken a single word since they boarded the transport ship 3 days ago. Station Commander Bora waited for them at the entrance to the negotiation chamber. She was Velthari, one of the crystalline species that lived in the northern galaxies. Her body was made of living crystal that shifted colors with her emotions. Right now, she glowed a dull blue. That meant skepticism. Ambassador Jiwoo, Bora said. Her voice came from vibrations in her crystal body. It sounded like wind chimes. Welcome to the Council Station. Though I must admit, I am surprised Earth sent only 2 representatives. Jiwoo smiled politely. Quality over quantity, Commander. I believe that's what humans say. Bora's colors shifted to purple, showing confusion. I see. And this is your security detail? She looked at Taemin. 1 guard? Corporal Taemin is all I need, Jiwoo replied. Bora made a sound like breaking glass, which was Velthari laughter. The Kryn brought a battalion. The Velthari have 3 warships in orbit. But Earth sends 1 woman and 1 soldier. Perhaps you do not understand the seriousness of this situation. I understand perfectly, Jiwoo said. Her voice remained calm. That's why I'm here. Bora led them into the negotiation chamber. It was a massive circular room with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. In the center stood a round table made of the same crystal as the station walls. On one side sat High Chancellor Vex Ira and their advisors. Their crystal bodies glowed with stress patterns of red and orange. On the opposite side sat War Prime Thax and his warriors. The Kryn looked like massive insects standing on 2 legs. Their exoskeletons were black and shiny. Their multiple eyes reflected light, like mirrors. Their mandibles clicked constantly, creating an unsettling rhythm. Both sides turned to look at the humans as they entered. Thax's mandibles spread wide in what might have been a smile or a threat display. So, the infant species has arrived to teach us wisdom. His voice buzzed and clicked. How amusing. Jiwoo walked to the neutral space at the table designated for mediators. Taemin moved to stand in the corner behind her. He stood perfectly still, hands clasped behind his back. His face showed nothing. I am honored that both empires agreed to meet, Jiwoo began. I know trust is difficult after 12 years of war. 12 years of Kryn aggression, Vex Ira said. Their crystalline form flashed angry red. 12 years of watching our colonies burn. 12 years of Velthari weakness, Thax countered. You spread across our territory like a disease. We merely cut out the infection. I would fork Kantrazan. Grossed. This is exactly the kind of talk that has kept this war going, Jiwoo said. She kept her voice level and professional. Both sides have grievances. Both sides have lost people. But continuing the war will only create more loss. Thax's multiple eyes focused on her. Tell me, human, has your species ever fought a real war? A war for survival? 3. Jiwoo met his gaze steadily. We have. Against whom? Other tribes of your primitive world? Thax's mandibles clicked in mockery. We are talking about empires that span hundreds of systems. Billions of lives. Your entire species only achieved faster than light travel 30 years ago. You are children playing at politics. Perhaps, Jiwoo said. But sometimes children see simple solutions that adults have overlooked. Vex Ira's colors shifted to a more neutral yellow. We mean no disrespect, Ambassador. But War Prime Thax is correct in one thing. This conflict has roots that go deeper than you can understand. Resources, territory, history that predates your space travel by centuries. Then, help me understand, Jiwoo said. She activated her datapad and projected a holographic map of the disputed territories above the table. These 17 systems are the primary conflict zones. Both species have settlements here. Both claim historical rights. They are ours by right of first discovery, Vex Ira said firmly. They are ours by right of strength, Thax said. The Velthari cannot hold what they cannot defend. So we return to the fundamental disagreement, Jiwoo said. She began highlighting different areas on the map. But what if we looked at this differently? What if, instead of fighting over who owns what, we discussed who needs what? For the next hour, Jiwoo presented data. She showed resource distributions, population needs, and strategic values. She proposed divisions based on practical needs rather than pride. She suggested shared governance in mixed settlements. She outlined trade agreements that would benefit both sides. The aliens listened. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes they dismissed her ideas. But they listened. In the corner, Taemin had not moved. Several of Thax's warriors kept glancing at him with their multiple eyes. There was something about his complete stillness that made them uneasy. One of the Kryn advisors, a smaller male named Dax Ul, leaned close to Thax and buzzed something too quiet for the others to hear. Thax glanced at Taemin, then back at the discussion. As the hours passed, the initial hostility in the room began to fade. Not into agreement, but into something less aggressive. Jiwoo worked patiently, addressing each concern, each objection, each moment of anger with calm logic. When the session finally ended for the day, both sides retreated to their quarters. Jiwoo gathered her materials. Taemin finally moved, stepping forward to stand beside her. "You did well," he said quietly. These were the first words anyone had heard him speak. "They're not convinced yet," Jiwoo replied. "They will be, or they won't." "That's very philosophical of you, Corporal." Taemin's expression did not change. "I'm a simple man, Ambassador. I see things simply. Either they make peace, or they don't. Either way, I do my job." "And what exactly is your job here?" Jiwoo asked. A slight smile on her lips. "To keep you safe," Taemin said. "And to make sure they know what happens if they don't." Trime. As they walked back to their quarters, they passed a viewport showing the space around the station. In the distance, the fleets of both empires maintained their positions. Hundreds of warships, bristling with weapons, all pointed at each other. Somewhere beyond them, hidden in the darkness of space, other ships watched and waited. Ships that neither the Velthari nor the Kryn knew were there. Ships that had been watching for a very long time. Taemin looked at the fleets for a moment, then continued walking. His face showed nothing at all. 3 days had passed since the talks began. The negotiation chamber had become a battlefield of words instead of weapons. Jiwoo sat at the table, with documents spread before her. Dark circles had formed under her eyes from lack of sleep. Still, she maintained her professional composure. Taemin stood in his corner. He had not left that spot except when the sessions ended each day. Some of the alien delegates had started taking bets on whether he was actually a robot. He never seemed tired, never seemed bored. Just watched and waited. The morning session started with Jiwoo presenting new proposals. She had worked through the night, trying to find compromises that both sides could accept. Her voice was steady as she explained resource-sharing arrangements for the disputed mining colonies. Thax interrupted her mid-sentence. "This is pointless." His mandibles clicked with irritation. "We have been generous with our time. We have listened to your naive suggestions. We have prives. We have processor. We have been generous with our time. We have been generous with our time. But the reality is simple. The Kryn are stronger. The Velthari must submit, or be destroyed. Vex-Era's crystalline body flashed bright red. Submit? You dare speak of submission after burning our colonies? After killing millions of our people? War has costs, Thax said. His multiple eyes showed no sympathy. You started this by expanding into our territory. We merely finished it. We expanded into empty space. Vex-Era's voice rose, their crystal form vibrating with anger. Space that belonged to no one. Space that we would have eventually claimed, Thax replied. You knew this. You did it anyway. Now, you face the consequences. Jiwoo raised her hand, trying to restore order. War Prime, Chancellor, please. We are here to find peace, not to rehash old arguments. Peace? Thax turned his attention to her. I'm not asking you to forget, Jiwoo said. I'm asking you to move forward. For the sake of those who are still alive, Thax made a buzzing sound that was Kryn laughter. You speak well, human. But you speak from ignorance. Your species has never fought a war like this. When was the last time humanity faced extinction? When did you last make a choice between total war and total surrender? Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. We've made that choice many times, War Prime. More times than you know. Impossible, one of Thax's generals said. Your species is barely space-capable. You have no colonies beyond your own system. You have no empire. What wars could you possibly have fought? One. Before Jiwoo could answer, a holographic display activated at the end of the table. Admiral Hyun appeared. A human male, with gray hair and a worn face. He wore the uniform of Earth's Colonial Defense Force. He had been observing the talks remotely but had not spoken until now. Perhaps I can answer that, Hyun said. His voice was quiet but commanded attention. Ambassador Jiwoo is being modest. She doesn't want to turn this discussion toward humanity's past. But since you asked, I will tell you. The aliens turned to look at the hologram. Even Taemin's eyes shifted slightly, though he remained motionless. 200 years ago, Hyun continued, humanity nearly destroyed itself. We had nuclear weapons. We had biological weapons. We had weapons that could kill every living thing on our planet 10 times over. And we almost used them. Quote, a single planet conflict, Thax said dismissively. This proves my point. You cannot understand war on our scale, can't we? Hyun's expression hardened. 150 years ago, we fought the colony wars. Mars against Earth. The Belt against the inner planets. We developed weapons that could crack planets open. We built ships that could accelerate asteroids into kinetic missiles. We learned how to wage war across a solar system. Vex-Era's colors shifted to a curious green. We have no records of this. No, you wouldn't, Hyun said. We don't advertise our violent history. But it happened. Millions died. Entire habitats were destroyed. We brought ourselves to the edge of extinction again. And yet you survived, Vex-Era observed. We survived because we learned, Hyun replied. We learned that winning a war means nothing if your species doesn't survive to see peace. We learned that sometimes the strongest choice is to stop fighting. Thax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Fine words. But they do not apply here. The Kryn and Velthari have already chosen war. The time for gentle negotiations has passed. Has it? Jiwoo asked. She stood up from her seat. War Prime Thax? You have 300 warships positioned around this station. Chancellor Vex-Era, you have 200. All of them are ready to fight. All of them are waiting for orders. Yes, Thax said. And my patience has ended. If the Velthari will not accept reasonable terms, then we will resume our campaign. What are your reasonable terms? Jiwoo asked. Complete withdrawal from all disputed territories. Reparations for the cost of the war. recognition of Kryn's supremacy in this sector. Vexira's color turned deep red. Never. We will not surrender what is rightfully ours. We will not pay for a war you started. And we will never bow to Kryn dominance. Then we have nothing more to discuss, Thax said. He started to rise from his seat. Sit down, Jiwoo said. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the tension. Thax paused. His multiple eyes focused on her with surprise. No one had spoken to him that way in years. Sit down, War Prime, Jiwoo repeated. And you too, Chancellor. Both of you are going to listen to me for 5 more minutes. Then, if you still want to kill each other, I won't stop you. The room was silent. Even the constant clicking of Kryn mandibles had stopped. Slowly, Thax lowered himself back into his seat. Vexira, who had also started to rise, settled back down. Thank you, Jiwoo said. She walked around the table, her footsteps the only sound. You both think I don't understand this war. You both think humanity is too young, too inexperienced, too naive to grasp what you're facing. And maybe you're right. She stopped walking and looked at both leaders. But I understand something you've both forgotten. I understand that pride is expensive. I understand that revenge costs more than you can afford. And I understand that neither of you can actually win this war. The Kryn will win, Thax said, but there was less certainty in his voice. No, you won't, Jiwoo said flatly. You'll destroy the Velthari, yes, but it will cost you half your fleet and most of your military strength. And then what? You'll be weak, vulnerable. Every species in this sector that fears the Kryn will see their chance and strike. She turned to Vexira. And you, Chancellor, if by some miracle you defeat the Kryn, you'll be so damaged that you won't be able to hold your own territory. Your people will suffer for generations. So what do you propose? Vexira asked. That we simply forgive and forget? No, Jiwoo said. I propose that you both recognize reality. This war has no winner. It only has survivors and corpses. And I'm asking you to choose to be survivors. Thax's claws tapped against the crystal table. You speak well, Ambassador, but words are not enough. The Kryn are warriors. We respect strength, not speeches. I understand, Jiwoo said. She glanced toward Taemin. Perhaps it's time you understood humanity's strength as well. Dax-ul, the Kryn science advisor, suddenly spoke up. War Prime, may I say something? Thax waved a claw in permission. I have been watching the human bodyguard, Daxul said. For 3 days, he has not moved except when necessary. He has not shown fatigue. He has not shown stress responses. His heart rate has not changed. His breathing has not changed. This is not normal biology. Perhaps he is cybernetic, Thax suggested. Perhaps, Dax-ul said slowly. Or perhaps he is trained to a level we do not understand. For the first time, Thax looked directly at Taemin. Really looked at him. The human stood motionless in his corner. His eyes were alert, but calm. His body was relaxed, but ready. There was something about him that reminded Thax of the apex predators on the Kryn homeworld. The ones that didn't need to show aggression because they were always dangerous. Your bodyguard is well trained, Thax admitted. But one soldier does not change the balance of power here. Jiwoo smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And what is that? That humanity has been watching your war very carefully. And we have opinions about how it should end. The words hung in the air like smoke. Thax's mandibles stopped clicking. Vexira's crystalline body shifted to a confused purple color. Even the other delegates, who had been quietly observing, suddenly focused their full attention on Jiwoo. Opinions? Thax finally said. His multiple eyes narrowed. What opinions could humanity possibly have that matter to us? The opinion that this war needs to end, Jiwoo said simply. Today, Thax made a buzzing sound of amusement. And if we disagree, will you scold us? Will you write a strongly worded message? You have no authority here, human. You are observers. Nothing more. You're right, Jiwoo agreed. We are observers. We've been observing for 12 years. We've watched every battle. We've tracked every ship movement. We've monitored every supply line. We know more about your war than you do. Vex-Era leaned forward, their crystal body glowing with interest. To what purpose? Intelligence gathering is natural, but it does not give you power over our decisions, doesn't it? Jiwoo turned to face both leaders fully. Tell me, War Prime, where is your fourth fleet right now? Thax's body went rigid. That is classified military information. They're stationed in the outer reach, protecting your supply convoys, Jiwoo said. 17 heavy cruisers, 42 destroyers, and a command carrier. The carrier has a damaged engine from a skirmish 3 weeks ago. It's operating at 70% efficiency. The room became very quiet. And Chancellor, Jiwoo continued, your Crystal Guard, your elite defense force, is currently split between 3 locations. The largest group is protecting your home system. The second is stationed at the colonies near the Nebula Belt. The third is here, with you, aboard those warships outside this station. Vex-Era's colors flashed through several shades rapidly, showing shock and alarm. How do you know this? Because we've been watching? Jiwoo repeated. Not just watching from a distance. We've been in your systems. We've been near your fleets. We've been close enough to count the rivets on your hull plating. Impossible, Thax said. But his voice lacked conviction. We would have detected you, would you? Admiral Hyun's hologram spoke up. Your sensor technology is impressive, but it's designed to detect threats you understand. Ships that move in ways you expect, energy signatures you recognize. We simply don't match those profiles. Daxul, the Kryn science advisor, was buzzing rapidly to himself. The gaps in our sensor data, the anomalies we attributed to stellar radiation. You're saying those were human ships? Some of them, Hyun confirmed. Station Commander Bora, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke. This is deeply concerning. You've been conducting surveillance in sovereign space without permission. This could be considered an act of espionage. Even an act of war. Quote, it could be, Jiwoo agreed. If we were preparing to attack. But we're not. We're preparing to ensure peace. By spying on us? Thax's voice rose with anger. By sneaking around like scavengers? By making sure we understand the situation completely, Jiwoo said. Her voice remained calm. War Prime. Chancellor, let me ask you a question. What do you think would happen if humanity decided to take a side in your war? You would lose. Thax said immediately. Your fleet is tiny. Your technology is decades behind ours. You would be crushed within weeks. Would we? Jiwoo asked. Admiral Hyun, would you like to show them? Hyun nodded. The holographic display in the center of the table changed. It now showed the space around the council station. Red dots represented Kryn ships. Blue dots represented Velthari ships. And then, as they watched, green dots began appearing. What is this? Vex-Era asked. This is reality, Hyun said. Every green dot is a human vessel. Most of them are military ships that you've never detected. Some of them are observation platforms. Some are relay stations. Some are weapons platforms. All of them have been here, in this system, for the past week. The aliens stared at the display. The green dots outnumbered both their fleets combined. This is a trick, Thax said. A simulation meant to frighten us. Is it? Jiwoo gestured to one of the observation windows. Commander Bora, your station has external sensors. Check the sector, designated Gamma 7. Right now, Bora's crystalline body flashed with uncertainty, but she accessed the station's systems. Her colors went pale as she read the data. There are ships there. Multiple vessels. They just appeared on our sensors. We dropped our stealth systems, Hyun explained. Just in that one sector. Just to prove a point. Would you like us to light up the rest? No, Thax said quickly. Then, more carefully, that won't be necessary. But I don't understand. If you have this capability, why reveal it? Why not simply continue your observations in secret? Because secrets are not the foundation for peace, Jiwoo said. We want you to know the truth. We want you to understand your situation completely. Both of you need to understand that humanity has been ready to intervene in this war for a long time. We've just been waiting for the right moment. And this is that moment? Vexira asked. Yes, Jiwoo said. Because you're about to do something unforgivable. War Prime Thax, you have given orders for orbital bombardment of 3 Velthari colony worlds. The orders are scheduled to execute in 2 hours. Those colonies have a combined population of 17 million civilians. Thax's mandibles clicked rapidly. How did you? We know everything, Jiwoo cut him off. And Chancellor Vexira, you've authorized a retaliatory strike on Kryn mining facilities using weapons that will poison the atmosphere for decades. Those facilities have 60,000 workers. Vexira's crystal body went completely transparent with shock. That information is classified at the highest level. Not to us, Jiwoo said. So here we are. 2 empires about to commit atrocities. 2 proud species, about to cross lines that can never be uncrossed. And humanity, the young species you both dismissed, standing in the middle and saying no. You cannot stop us, Thax said. But there was uncertainty in his voice now. Can't we? Jiwoo walked back to her seat and sat down. She folded her hands on the table and looked at both leaders. Let me be very clear about something. Humanity's military doctrine is simple. We don't fight wars of conquest. We don't fight wars of territory. We only fight wars of extinction. Wars where we have no choice but to use everything we have to survive. This is not your war, Vexira said. It wasn't, Jiwoo agreed. But the moment you both decided to murder millions of civilians, it became our concern. Because humanity has a long memory. We remember what happens when species commit genocide. We remember what it costs. And we have decided, as a species, that we will not permit it to happen again. Not by us. Not by anyone. Thax stood up, his full height towering over the table. You threaten us? You, who came here as mediators. This is an act of war. No. Jiwoo said quietly. This is an act of prevention. Sit down, War Prime. Please. Thax did not sit. His warriors behind him tensed, ready for action. The room filled with tension like a physical weight. And then, Taemin moved. It was the first time he had moved in hours. He stepped forward from his corner. Just one step. His hands remained at his sides. His face showed no emotion, but something about that single step made every being in the room freeze. War Prime, Taemin said. His voice was quiet and level. The ambassador asked you to sit down. I recommend you do so. Thax turned his multiple eyes toward the human soldier. Or what? You will fight my entire guard? No. Taemin said. I won't fight anyone. I'm just a bodyguard. My job is to protect Ambassador Jiwoo. But I should tell you something important. And what is that? Earth Command has given me a timer. 3 minutes. That's how long I have to resolve any threat to the ambassador or the peace process. After 3 minutes, they stop asking nicely. Dax-Ul suddenly stood up, his body language showing alarm. War Prime, I strongly recommend. Silence, Thax snapped. He looked back at Taemin. 3 minutes. And then what? Your ships fire on us? Taemin's expression didn't change. No, sir. After 3 minutes, they don't fire at all. They've already done everything they need to do. The 3 minutes is just courtesy time. Time for you to make a choice. What choice? Peace or destruction? Taemin said simply. Those are the only options now. Jiwoo stood up slowly. Please. War Prime. Chancellor. Sit down. Let us talk. Let me explain what humanity is offering, and what we're willing to do. If you refuse. Thax looked at the human bodyguard for a long moment. Then at the ambassador. Then at the holographic display still showing all those green dots representing human ships he had never known were there. Slowly, he sat down. Vex Era, who had been watching everything with rapidly changing colors, also settled back into their seat. Thank you, Jiwoo said. Now let me tell you about humanity's doctrine one more time. We don't want to fight. We never want to fight. But if we must, we fight to win. Completely. Permanently. With no hesitation. She looked at both leaders with an expression that was neither cruel nor kind. Just honest. And you should know one more thing. That timer Corporal Taemin mentioned. It started the moment you threatened to leave these talks. Taemin raised his left arm. On his wrist was a simple digital display. Numbers glowed in red. 2:47. They were counting down. You're bluffing, Thax said, but his mandibles had stopped their confident clicking. You expect us to believe that in less than 3 minutes, humanity can somehow threaten 2 entire empires? I don't expect you to believe anything, Jiwoo said. I'm just telling you the truth. What you do with that truth is your choice. Arder Senshawufen. Vex Era's crystalline body was shifting through colors rapidly now, showing confusion and fear. Ambassador, please, if this is real, if you truly have some capability you haven't shown, then use it. Show us. Prove your claim. Before we make any decisions. That's not how this works. Jiwoo said. We're not here to prove ourselves to you. We're here to give you a choice. Make peace, or face the consequences. Ardian Arshifen. Thax stood up again, his massive form towering over the table. I will not be threatened by... He stopped speaking. Every being in the room felt it at the same time. A vibration. A deep, subsonic hum that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The lights in the negotiation chamber flickered for just a moment. Station Commander Bora's body went completely pale, almost white. What was that? What did you do? That wasn't us, Admiral Hyun said from his hologram. That was your ship systems. Starting to realize something is wrong. Bora rushed to a control panel on the wall. Her crystalline fingers moved rapidly over the interface. The colors draining from her body showed pure terror. Impossible. This is impossible. This, what is happening? Vex Era demanded. Our weapons are offline, Bora said. Her voice was shaking. The station's defensive systems. The fleet communications. Everything is shutting down. Ardan. Thax pulled a communicator from his armor. He tried to contact his ships. Static. He tried again. Nothing. He looked at his guards, who were also trying their communication devices. All of them showed the same thing. Complete communication failure. This is a localized jamming field, Thax said. Crude but effective. It means nothing, does it? Hyun asked. His hologram smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Tell me, War Prime, when was the last time you received a status update from your 4th Fleet? Thax paused. What? Your 4th Fleet, in the Outer Reach. They should send routine status reports every 20 minutes. When did you last receive one? Thax looked at his communicator, scrolling through logs. His body language changed. His confidence cracked. They're fine, he said. Just a communication delay. Are they? Hyun gestured, and the holographic display changed again. It now showed a different region of space. Kryn ships floated motionless. Around them, human vessels had taken positions. Your 4th Fleet cannot move, cannot fire, cannot communicate. Every system, on every ship, is locked down. Not destroyed. Just controlled. Edern Sisherwufen. Vex Era stood up. their colors flashing red with anger. "This is an act of war. You have attacked sovereign vessels." "No one has been attacked," Jiwoo said calmly. "No one has been hurt. We've simply demonstrated capability. We've shown you what we can do without firing a single shot." The holographic display changed again. This time, it showed Velthari vessels. They were in the same state as the Kryn ships. Motionless. Powerless. Surrounded by human ships. "Your Crystal Guard," Hyun said to Vex-Era. "Your home fleet, your colony defenders. All of them are experiencing the same technical difficulties right now. Again, no one is hurt. No ships are destroyed. But they cannot function." Daxul was buzzing frantically, talking to himself in rapid Kryn. "Cyber warfare. They've infiltrated our computer systems. But our encryption is military grade. Our firewalls are impenetrable. This should be impossible." Idern Senshifen. "Nothing is impossible," Hyun said. "It's just difficult. And humanity has become very good at difficult things. For 12 years, we've been mapping your networks, learning your systems, finding every weakness, every backdoor, every vulnerability. We've been patient. We've been thorough. And now, when it matters, we're using what we learned." Thax's warriors had drawn their weapons now. They pointed them at Taemin, at Jiwoo, at the holographic projector. But Taemin still stood calmly, hands at his sides, watching the timer on his wrist. "Tell your warriors to lower their weapons," Jiwoo said to Thax. "They cannot harm a hologram, and if they harm me, the consequences will be immediate." "What consequences?" Thax roared. "You have shown us tricks. Computer hacking. These are not weapons of war, aren't they?" Hyun's expression hardened. "What good are your mighty warships when they cannot fire? What good is your armor when your soldiers cannot communicate? What good is your empire when every system you rely on can be shut down in seconds?" Idern Shewufen. The holographic display changed one more time. Now it showed tactical maps of military installations, Kryn command centers, Velthari defense platforms, manufacturing facilities, supply depots, every strategic asset both empires possessed. And over each one, a green marker appeared, a targeting indicator. "These are not threats," Hyun said. "These are facts. Human forces are currently in position at every critical facility in both your empires. We have not attacked. We have not fired. We have simply moved into position, quietly, carefully, while you were too busy fighting each other to notice." Vex-Era's crystal body had gone almost completely transparent with shock. "How many ships do you have?" Enough," Hyun said. "More than enough." Idern. A new hologram appeared in the room. This one was a woman in a military uniform. She had short black hair and sharp eyes. "I am Captain Sun Hee, of the UCSS Horizon. I am currently in orbit around the Kryn homeworld. My ship and 47 others have been in this system for 8 days. We have mapped every defense, every orbital platform, every garrison. We have targeting solutions for all of them. We are ready to execute those solutions if ordered." Thax stumbled backward. "The homeworld? You're at the homeworld?" Another hologram appeared, a male with gray streaks in his hair. "Commander Donghyun, of the UCSS Perseverance. I am in the Velthari home system with 32 vessels. Same situation. Same readiness." Lingder Sisherwufen. "This is madness," Vex-Era said. Their voice had lost all strength. "You would threaten both our species? Our homeworlds? Our civilians?" "No," Jiwoo said firmly. "We would prevent you from threatening each other's civilians. That's what this is about. You were both about to commit genocide. We're stopping you. Jiwoo. 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 By threatening genocide yourselves," Thax shouted. "No," Jiwoo repeated. Listen to what we're actually saying. We have not fired a shot. We have not killed anyone. We have simply shown you that we could. We could end both your empires in minutes if we wanted to. But we don't want to. Lingdern Senshifen. A new hologram appeared. This one was different from the others. It was an artificial intelligence, a construct of light and data that formed into a vaguely humanoid shape. I am Coordinator Minho. I am an AI designed by humanity to manage complex tactical operations. I have been monitoring this war since it began. I have calculated 1,847 different scenarios for how it could end. Only 3 of those scenarios result in both species surviving with their civilizations intact. The AI's form shifted, displaying data streams and probability curves. The most likely outcome of continued warfare is mutual extinction within 18 months. The second most likely is total Kryn victory at the cost of 92% of your military strength. The third most likely is Velthari victory through attrition warfare that will cripple your species for centuries. Lingdan Sherwufen. And the fourth possibility? Vex Ira asked quietly. The fourth possibility is that you both choose peace right now, Minho said. With humanity serving as guarantor. It is the least likely outcome based on your historical patterns. But it is the only outcome where both species thrive. Thax had gone very still. His warriors had lowered their weapons slowly, realizing the futility of their stance. You have orchestrated all of this, invited us here under the pretense of mediation, only to hold a blade to our throats. Yes, Jiwoo said simply. Because you would not have come otherwise. Because you were both too proud to admit you needed help. Because left to yourselves, you would have destroyed each other. Ling der Ling Tsi Fen. Taemin spoke again, his voice cutting through the tension. War Prime. Chancellor. The timer is nearly finished. When it reaches 0, I will send a signal. If that signal says peace, then all human forces will withdraw. We will return control of your systems. We will leave you in peace. If that signal says anything else, then Earth Command will execute what they call Plan Omega. What is Plan Omega? Vex Ira asked. Everything you see on those displays becomes real. Taemin said. Every weapon fires. Every system goes down permanently. Every military asset you have becomes scrap. Your empires don't end. But your ability to wage war does. Completely. And then, humanity occupies both your territories until we're certain you've learned your lesson. Lingder Ling Senfen. Choose, Jiwoo said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed the strain of what she was asking. Choose right now. Sign the peace treaty. Accept human oversight. Let both your people live, or refuse, and face the consequences. Ling der Ling Arfen. Thax and Vex Ira looked at each other across the table. 2 leaders of proud empires. 2 species who had been enemies for 12 years. 2 civilizations on the brink of extinction. Ling der Ling Ifen. We choose peace. They said together. Ling Den. Taemin pressed a button on his wrist display. The countdown stopped. The subsonic hum in the room faded away. The lights stabilized. Thank you, Jiwoo said. She sat down heavily, as if her legs could no longer hold her weight. Thank you for choosing wisely. The negotiation chamber was silent, except for the sound of breathing. Thax had collapsed into his seat, his massive frame suddenly seeming smaller. Vex Ira's crystalline body had settled into a dull gray color that meant exhaustion and defeat. Their advisors and warriors stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. Jiwoo pulled out her datapad with shaking hands. She placed it on the table and activated the holographic display. The peace treaty appeared, floating in the air above the table, the same treaty she had been trying to get them to sign for 3 days. The terms are unchanged, she said. Her voice was tired, but professional. Territorial divisions, as proposed. Resource sharing agreements. Reparations limited to economic aid rather than punitive payments. And a 20-year observation period. with human peacekeepers stationed in key locations. Peacekeepers, Thax said bitterly. You mean occupiers? No, Admiral Hyun said. His hologram had remained active. We mean peacekeepers. They will not govern. They will not take resources. They will simply ensure that both sides honor the agreement. After 20 years, if peace holds, they will leave. And if we break the agreement? Vexira asked. Then we remind you why you signed it in the first place, Hyun said flatly. Dax Ul, the Kryn science advisor, spoke up. His voice was quiet and thoughtful. May I ask a question? Of course, Jiwoo said. Why? Dax Ul looked at the humans. Why do you care what happens to us? You could have let us destroy each other. You could have waited until we were weak, and then taken our territories for yourselves. Why intervene? Why risk making enemies of both our species? Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. She looked at Taemin, who gave a small nod. Then she looked back at the aliens. Because we've been where you are, she said. Humanity has stood on the edge of extinction more times than I can count. We've built weapons we couldn't control. We've started wars we couldn't win. We've made choices we still regret centuries later. And every time, we barely survived. Every time, we lost something we can never get back. Cumbertengen. She stood up and walked to the observation window. Outside, the stars shone in the darkness. Somewhere out there, human ships were still in position, still ready, still watching. 300 years ago, we nearly destroyed Earth with nuclear weapons, Jiwoo continued. We didn't, but we came so close that we can still see the scars. 200 years ago, we nearly destroyed Mars in the colony wars. The planet is still partially uninhabitable. 100 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves again in the belt conflicts. She turned back to face them. Each time, we learned something. Each time, we swore we would never let it happen again. And each time, we got a little bit better at choosing peace over pride. But the cost of those lessons was measured in billions of lives. Vexira's colors shifted to a sad blue. So you save us from ourselves because you could not save yourselves? No, Jiwoo said. We save you because we did save ourselves. Eventually. And we remember what it cost. We remember the children who died because adults couldn't control their anger. We remember the cities turned to glass. We remember the habitats that became tombs. And we decided, as a species, that if we ever had the power to stop it from happening to someone else, we would. Even if it means threatening us, Thax said. Especially if it means threatening you, Jiwoo replied. Because the alternative is watching you kill each other. And we won't do that. We can't. Not anymore. Station Commander Bora had been quiet during all of this. Now she spoke. Her voice filled with confusion. But you barely have any colonies. Your species is confined to a single star system. Why develop such weapons? Why build such a fleet? What were you preparing for? Admiral Hyun answered this question. We were preparing for the worst. Humanity learned that hoping for peace is not enough. You must be ready for war, even if you never want to fight. We built our fleet not to conquer, but to ensure that no one could ever conquer us. And now, we use it to ensure peace. Coordinator Minho, the AI, spoke up. If I may add context. Humanity's military development has always been driven by fear of extinction, not desire for expansion. Your species developed weapons to defeat enemies. Humanity developed weapons to prevent wars. It is a subtle but critical difference. Thax leaned forward, his multiple eyes focused on the floating treaty. More than fair, Daxul said before Jiwoo could answer. War Prime. I have reviewed them extensively. Both sides gain and lose equally. The resource divisions are based on actual need rather than greed. The territorial boundaries make strategic sense. If we had proposed these terms ourselves at the start of the war, we would have considered them a victory. But we did not propose them, Thax said. We were forced to accept them. Does it matter? Daxul asked. Our people survive. Our empire remains intact. We avoid total war. Sometimes wisdom comes from accepting what you cannot change. Thax was silent for a long time. Then, he reached out, with one claw, and touched the holographic treaty. How do we sign? Jiwoo pulled out two small devices from her pocket. They were biometric scanners, designed to read and record the unique signatures of different species. She placed them on the table. Place your hand or appendage on the scanner, she said. It will record your biological signature and encrypt it into the treaty document. The treaty will then be registered with the Galactic Council and with Earth's government. It will be binding under both our laws. Vex Era moved first. Their crystalline hand touched the scanner. Light flowed through their body, from hand to core. The scanner beeped, confirming the signature. Thax watched this. Then, slowly, he placed his claw on the second scanner. His mandibles clicked softly. A sound of resignation. The scanner beeped. It is done, Jiwoo said. She collected the scanners. As of this moment, the war between the Velthari Collective and the Kryn Dominion is over. Human peacekeepers will arrive within the week to begin establishing observation posts. All military forces will withdraw to the boundaries specified in the treaty. Any violations will be met with immediate response. How immediate? Vexita asked. Taemin smiled for the first time. It was a small smile, barely visible. About 3 minutes, he said. Despite everything, despite the tension and fear, several beings in the room made sounds that might have been laughter. It was strained and uncomfortable, but it was something. Admiral Hyun's hologram flickered. Human forces are beginning withdrawal now. Control of your systems will be restored gradually over the next few hours. We're doing it slowly to ensure no accidents occur during the transition. By this time tomorrow, you'll have full control of all your vessels and installations again. Except for the observation posts, Thax noted. Except for those, Hyun agreed. Small facilities. 50 personnel each. They won't interfere with your daily operations. They're just there to watch and report. Captain Sunhee's hologram appeared again. War Prime Thax. Your 4th Fleet is already regaining functionality. They should be back to full operation within 2 hours. I want you to know that we took great care to ensure no damage was done to any systems. This was never about hurting you. Commander Donghyun's hologram joined her. Chancellor Vex Era. The same is true for your Crystal Guard. All your ships are intact. All your crew are safe. We touched your systems only enough to stop them, not to harm them. Vex Ira's colors shifted to a tentative green. Why are you telling us this? Because trust has to start somewhere, Sunhee said. We want you to trust that when we say we're peacekeepers, we mean it. We're not here to dominate you. We're here to help you survive. Station Commander Bora had been working at her control panel. Station systems are coming back online. Communications are restored. I'm receiving messages from both fleets. They're confused, but operational. Good, Jiwoo said. She looked exhausted now that the crisis had passed. Please inform both fleets that a peace treaty has been signed. All military operations are to cease immediately. Any commander who fires a weapon after this point will be prosecuted for war crimes under the new treaty. Bora nodded and began sending the messages. Daxul stood up and approached Jiwoo. Ambassador, may I speak with you privately? Of course, Jiwoo said. They moved to a corner of the room. Taemin followed, maintaining his protective distance. Daxul looked at the human bodyguard with what might have been respect. I wanted to tell you something, Daxul said quietly. 3 days ago, when you first arrived, I thought you were naive. I thought humanity was irrelevant. I was wrong. It's understandable, Jiwoo said. We encouraged that perception. Why? Daxul asked. Why hide your strength? Why let the galaxy think you are weak? Because strong people don't need to prove themselves, Jiwoo said. We could have announced our capabilities. We could have demanded respect. But that would have made us a threat. Instead, we stayed quiet. We watched. We learned. And when the moment came, we acted. Not for glory, but for necessity. Daxul's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. You are wise for such a young species. Perhaps that is because you are young. You still remember the lessons that older species have forgotten. Perhaps. Jiwoo agreed. Or perhaps we just got lucky enough to survive our mistakes. Not every species does. No, Daxul said sadly. Not every species does. Over the next hour, the details were worked out. Communication protocols were established. Boundaries were confirmed. Schedules for fleet withdrawals were created. The machinery of peace began to move, slowly but steadily. Thax and Vex Era did not speak to each other directly. Not yet. The wounds were too fresh. But they spoke to Jiwoo. And through her, they began the long process of learning to coexist. As the meeting finally concluded, Thax approached Taemin. The massive Kryn warrior looked down at the human soldier. You are well trained, Thax said. Thank you, Taemin replied. That timer. Was it real? Would your people truly have done what they threatened? Taemin met his gaze steadily. Yes. We don't bluff about extinction. We've seen it too many times to joke about it. I believe you, Thax said. Perhaps that is why we live. As the aliens began to file out of the negotiation chamber, Jiwoo slumped into her chair. Taemin stood beside her. You did well, he said quietly. I was terrified, Jiwoo admitted. What if they hadn't chosen peace? What if they'd called our bluff? It wasn't a bluff, Taemin reminded her. And they made the right choice. That's what matters. Is it always going to be like this? Jiwoo asked. Humanity standing over the galaxy with a gun? Forcing peace? I hope not, Taemin said. I hope eventually we teach them to choose peace on their own. But for now, this is what we can do. And it's enough. 5 years later, the council station had become a symbol of peace. The observation posts that humanity established had become welcome parts of their host systems. The Veltharian Kryn didn't love each other, but they traded. They talked. They built a future together. Jiwoo had become Earth's primary ambassador to the Galactic Council. Her reputation as the diplomat, who ended a 12-year war in 3 minutes, had spread across the galaxy. Other species sought her mediation. Other conflicts were resolved through her efforts. Taemin had retired from military service. He opened a small establishment on the council station, a quiet place where beings from all species could come and talk. People who had seen war and wanted to remember why peace mattered. One evening, Vex Era visited the establishment. Their crystalline body glowed with peaceful blue tones. Corporal Taemin, they said. Or should I say, Proprietor Taemin now? Taemin is fine, he said, pouring them a drink synthesized for Velthari biology. I wanted to thank you, Vex Era said, for helping us choose wisely, for giving us time to think when we were about to make a terrible mistake. I just watched a clock, Taemin said with a slight smile. You did more than that, Vex Era said. You showed us what humanity truly is. Not the weapons, not the threats, but the wisdom to know when to use them and when to put them away. Taemin nodded. That's what we hope others see. That's what we want to be. Chaemin Tame, Taemin Tae. As Vex Era left, another figure entered. War Prime Thax, now simply Leader Thax. Having transitioned from military rule to civilian governance, he saw Vex Era leaving and nodded respectfully. They returned the gesture. Then Thax approached the bar. 2 former enemies in one evening, Taemin observed. Must be a special night. Perhaps it is, Thax said. Or perhaps it is just what peace looks like. Former enemies learning to share the same space. That's exactly what it is, Taemin agreed. And in the space station that orbited between stars, in the quiet bar run by a human soldier who once held the fate of empires in his hands, peace continued. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Because humanity had learned something that they now taught the galaxy. Strength is not in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to choose not to.